Hey everyone, in this video I tracked the rewards from killing the new open world mobs for 10 hours. Now before we get into the video, SBI has created a new content creator program, and so they're giving me tons of codes to give away for you guys, meaning that there will be giveaways attached to pretty much every video I make in the future. They'll be run through my community Discord channel, which you can find its link in the description. Right now there's a giveaway running for 12 7-day premium codes as well as a nice vanity skin. So if you don't want to miss this giveaway or any in the future, make sure that you join that Discord, and then you can also turn on notifications on YouTube so that whenever I post a new video, you get notified of it, as there will be a giveaway running in my Discord at the same time. So starting off with my build, I went for a pretty standard battle axe build to make sure I could do some of the harder bosses, but if you wanted something a little bit faster, obviously like a light crossbow would probably be a little bit faster than this. So along with the battle axe, we had the mist collar for our offhand, the scholar cowl for our helmet, mercenary jacket, demon boots for the escapability, and then a Thetford cape for the extra damage, along with beef stews and poison potions that I always forgot to use. On your battle axe, you want to run Rending Rage as your Q and Raging Blades as your W, along with Deep Cuts as your passive. For passives on your armor, it's damage wherever available, or else defensive on the plate. So I ran out with tier 7 equivalent on all my armor with a 4.2 cape and then a tier 8 battle axe. However, I did spec up a little bit, especially the battle axe got specced up a lot, which we'll get into in a little bit. So before we get into some of the rewards, I think it's helpful to first go over two things that really affected the rewards that I was interested in finding when I set out on doing these 10 hours, which are the zone and the time of day. So starting with the zone, obviously the tier 8 zones are going to have better mobs, but they're also going to be more populated, so the mobs are more likely to be killed, and the tier 5 zones are the exact opposite, less populated, so the mobs are more likely to be leveled up. However, they're worth less than sort of the tier 8 mobs. So after a little bit of testing, I found that the best zones were simply the ones that haven't been farmed for a while. Leveled up mobs are worth such an amazing amount more than lower level mobs that no matter if it's tier 5 or tier 6, it's just better than tier 7 and 8 if it hasn't been farmed for a while. On average, the best zones are going to be the tier 5 zones. That being said, I actually found it more beneficial to take a little bit of time to maybe find a road to the middle of nowhere where there's a tier 6 or 7 zone that hasn't been farmed for a while, because while it does take a little bit longer to find a good non-farmed zone that is tier 6 or 7 than compared to a tier 5 zone, the rewards are a lot better in those zones, making it worth it to sort of search out and find one. The time of day also affected the rewards that I was getting quite a lot, so I tested in like prime time as well as past like 2 UTC when the game's pretty dead. So there really is a very noticeable difference between both the quality of mobs and the danger level going from prime time to the super unpopulated times. So during prime time, there's a ton more groups out, both ganking and just aggressive groups against you, and then there's also a lot less zones that haven't been farmed for a while, as there's just simply more people farming them. However, if you do it sort of when the server is less populated, like late in the night or early in the morning before the server resets, there's a lot more zones that have high value mobs in them, and then there's also a lot less people out there being aggressive trying to gank you and stuff. So I found up to around like a 50% difference in the rewards of might and fame going from prime time to around 1 or 2 UTC. I would imagine that if you go even later, like right before server reset, that you would have even more success. So moving on, I collected a little bit of stats for this. I recorded the amount of champion, boss, and rare boss, those are the glowing, the circle boss, and the star bosses that I killed of each tier. So for the glowing mobs, the champions, I killed a total of 186, with 33 tier 5, 75 tier 6, 73 tier 7, and 5 tier 8s. For the boss or circle boss mobs, I killed 7 tier 5, 17 tier 6, 12 tier 7, and 3 tier 8. And then for the rare boss or star boss, I killed 0 tier 5, 3 tier 6, 1 tier 7, and 1 tier 8. Now I didn't record how many soldier mobs I killed because that would just be too much work. Judging from the amount of the champion mobs that I killed, which is 186 total, I can confidently say that I killed at least 5 times amount of the normal soldier mobs, so that's at least like 1,000. I'll also just note here, if this is something that you want to do yourself, I completely ignored the recruits, the lowest level of mobs, as they're just not really worth killing. The soldiers, the ones that are one level up from them, give like 7 to 8 times the amount of rewards, so I just went for the soldiers and completely ignored the recruits. Moving on now to take a look at the rewards, we're going to start with fame. So in total, the total amount of fame that I received for the 10 hours was 22.96 million, which makes this method around 2.3 million fame per hour. For reference, this is completely insane. It's definitely the best solo fame in the game. If you're like max spec doing solo group dungeons with a very similar build, you can expect around the same amount of fame as this. So this is really, really insane for fame. My battle axe started at 20 spec and ended with 89 after the 10 hours of farming. Basically, this is pretty much the best fame that you can get in the game, even going to group activities. Only like the super high tier Avalonian dungeons with really competent, experienced teams can even come close to comparing with this. A new stat that we get to look at for activities like this is the might that you gain from it, and this was also pretty insane, coming in at 29.5k might for the 10 hours. This puts it just shy of 3k might per hour. Now I will note with this that this number I have adjusted so that it doesn't include the bonus percent that you get from a guild level. So as your guild challenge levels up, you get a percent bonus to the might that you gain. So one level in the guild, which is very easy to get, is like a 10% bonus. This combined with the fact that I spent a lot of time in these 10 hours sort of experimenting with prime time and different zones and things like that, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that if your guild's leveled up and you find a nice zone off of prime time that's pretty consistent, you could pretty consistently get up to 4k might points per hour. So just for reference, if you were hitting this average of 4k might per hour and not doing anything else for might points, it would take you 250 hours to earn the crystal battle mount at the end of the season, which would be around like 2 hours and 50 minutes per day. Personally, I think this number is actually pretty good. It means that it is possible to get the crystal battle mount as a solo player just by doing this. However, the vast majority of people won't get it because that is a fair amount of time commitment to be, you know, like farming mobs every day. Lastly, for rewards, we have the monetary loot rewards here. So you can see, due to me doing some tier 5 and some tier 8, that there's loot anywhere from tier 3 to tier 8. There's a huge variety of different stuff, like tier 8 warbow, tier 8 equivalent like crossbow. Really, it seems like the amount of loot you get is really going to depend on whether you're doing low tier maps or high tier maps. The one really consistent big part of the loot though is the Tomes of Insight here, which I got around 3.4 mil worth of Tomes of Insight at 117 total, which are really a big chunk of the loot, and then in total, our total price check comes to 5.4 mil around there for the whole 10 hours. So as we can see here from the looks of it, the loot in terms of the money that you get from doing still open world mobs is quite low. That's around 540k an hour, which is very, very low. So in conclusion, is going out into the open world and farming these new open world mobs worth it? From these tests, in my opinion, it definitely is if you want fame. As I said, the fame is some of the best you can get in the game, so it's definitely really good for that. My next video is going to be looking at how you can get might as a solo player, comparing the different activities that you can do solo to get might, so we'll have to see how it stacks up to other things in terms of might. My guess is that it's going to be quite high, one of the best activities, but we'll really have to wait until the next video to see. However, in terms of money, it's not that great, but to be honest, this isn't sort of a money focused activity, so if you want money, I would suggest doing something else besides this. But that's all for this video. If you're looking forward to the next one that compares all the different might that you can get as a solo player, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on it.